So here we go. This all comes down from a post by MTD over here, Mutendo, right? Who is a former executive C-suite level with VShojo. And what is glorious about this is this is hit with a community note almost immediately. Now, in this community note reads, Mutendo actively harassed and defamed talents during his time at VShojo and after. He fails to address this important issue in the document or the fact that he deleted tweets claiming ignorance of their internal issues. So this is a fun one. Here is the document, the Google Doc. My time at VShojo. I'm going to be reading this, and I will stop. I will comment. So he starts with, hey all, before we get started, I just want to take the chance to thank all of my friends, former talent, former staff, and other streamers in the industry that I've been in communication with who know myself and my role within the company. You've all been wonderful through this tough time. I also want to thank the many, many people within the community who have been supportive throughout this time and have stood with me while this gets sorted. I have spent the following month gathering countless documents and what I had access to in order to have clear, concise records of my involvement with the company and provided a small fraction below. Transparency and misrepresentation. There was once a time where I was extremely proud about what I helped build initially. There was a lot of hard work and planning involved, and I took a lot of pride in my role for launching the company. But now I simply feel misled, disappointed, and betrayed. The fact is that this happened. This had happened at all is troubling to say the least, and I feel deeply sorry for those affected by it. If anyone affected needs testimony, evidence, or other material assistance with actions against VShojo, I am more than willing to do what I can to assist. I may have documentation or records relevant to case. I'm happy to see what I have. We need to call him on this. We need to call him on this because this is not all the information. And he needs to give over. If he really wants to clear his name, drop the documents. Drop all the documents you have. If MTD wants to clear his name, he needs to drop it all. All of the conversations with Gunrun, not the clips, right? Now, you can censor out confidential information, so per people's personal information, stuff like that. It needs to be all out. That all needs to be dropped. I have also considered, saying right here, taking my own shareholder action against the company, which I won't rule out. Well, there you go. I have also have to consider action against those that have engaged in defamation, although I'm hopefully they can resolve it privately. And then this is good. This is good. I think that you should reach out. And if you feel like somebody is defaming you, this is actually smart. So I'm going to give him some credit on this. If you feel like somebody is defaming you, you should reach out to them and you should try to resolve it amicably because defamation lawsuits are difficult and they're hard. That being said, I was never made aware that company talents were intermingled with the company's operating expenses. You know why he underlined this, guys? You know why he underlined this? This is a legal conclusion that would lead to the piercing of the corporate veil and his personal liability. So, whether it's true or not, he said that because that was this is a legal statement. I'm not even sure if he knows it's a legal statement. Any budget that was used for marketing was a direct result of being, well, hold on. Okay, he didn't do this right. He didn't explain what his position was because let's go down. He screwed this up. So he says he had two titles here of CTO and CMO. Okay, so Chief Technology Officer and Chief Marketing Officer. So when he says here about any budget used for marketing was a direct result of being asked for an amount and either being approved or denied. I had extremely limited financial access, only small marketing approvals, never broader accounts or operations. I have evidence of this from third parties that I work for with marketing media, and that's fine. He's going to be deposed on this. I've never had access to bank accounts nor was made aware in meetings about the way the finances are being made. Well, I guess he had a charge card or something. So this is interesting. So he would just get an invoice and pass it along to get paid. But usually, typically, the marketing director or this chief marketing officer would have like a charge card or some way to get stuff to pay for stuff. So he probably had some way to pay, but he may not have had access to like how much money was in the bank account. Sure. What I've been made aware of is that the company was running out of money and needed another round of investment to continue operations. So they were operating on loans. As far as my understanding, the only individuals who had access to company bank accounts were the CEO, the COO, and the finance department, as far as he knows. And that might be true. But what this means is the entire finance department, the COO, and the CEO are on the line. So yes, it's not just gun run. It's not just gun run, but at a minimum, it's the COO and probably the entire finance department, if not at least the head. Okay, let's continue down. So, he was at CTO and CMO. So I oftentimes will say C-suite level. So C-suite level. What that means is you are a chief. Typically in a corporation at that level, everybody talks to each other about stuff. Now, are there exceptions? Yes. But the default is that these people are typically talking to each other. And typically there's gossip that will get around or word that will get around, etc. So the thing is, if he was at the C-suite level, it's hard to believe he really didn't really know anything or have a feeling that something was going to happen. Now, maybe he didn't know all the details, maybe, but at that level, it's hard not to know. It's hard not to know. So that's when I say C-suite, I mean the CEO, the CTO, and CMO. He was not the CEO, to be fair. And I have never said he was the CEO. Right? The change in position was due to an internal company pivot in which the directors of the company assigned the role of CTO to another staff member and subsequently assigned myself to CMO. I have assigned these titles, but recently discovered it's not entirely clear if these titles were legally or formally recognized. They don't really have to be. They weren't publicly traded, so that you really don't need to acknowledge who your CTO is. You do need to acknowledge your board of directors, but that's a separate body. And by the way, your officers don't need to be the only people sitting on the board of directors. You can actually get outside people to sit on your board of directors. Okay. In terms of a seniority, I was not on the board of directors despite assisting launch company. I can believe this. Because this is going to be easy to find if it's a lie. So I assume he's not on the board. That's probably true. I also note at this time, the entire company was remote and no in-person office. So what he's trying to say is there was no water cooler talk. From the start, I felt as I was unfairly sidelined in terms of my role and influence. Any criticisms I always held felt like they fell on deaf ears. And as time went, the staff expanded and I felt more and more sidelined. Once again, he should have quit. This is not anything that, if you feel sidelined, you should quit or you should speak up or you should do something about it. That's your power in a company. If you don't like it, quit, right? My role in the company more or less began to feel like an employee that just did marketing, other tasks when needed, as opposed to somebody who assisted in getting everything off the ground. That's not good. Obviously. I feel as if there was not a lot of honesty and transparency about certain happenings within the company. And now I believe that some things I was told were not true. Things such as information about talent's behaviors and reasons for their departures was information that's being presented to me by the founders. So Gunrun and I guess Daniel. This directly influenced my beliefs and feelings about the talent. And I now believe, based on the findings, that the information presented to me was untrue. Okay, well, there's a lot of proof that you had back in July that this was untrue. So once again, I do think he's being very favorable to himself here. However, despite the fact he's being very favorable to himself, he may not be completely lying. Right? There are many projects and pivots that I learned only after they were in motion or were approved by the board. Things such as a pivot to a social media style website service and a full company merger, both of which I opposed, are among the few examples where I've notified subsequently to the work beginning. There were times when I was asked to sign documents without adequate time to get them reviewed by an attorney and told they could potentially lead to my removal from the company. I was told that it was needed for the success of the company with minimal and insufficient details. An example being the aforementioned merger above. In the final years of the company, I didn't directly speak to the CEO in a one-on-one capacity, only the COO weekly. This was likely due to the fact that I would be extremely critical about decisions made at the company and lack thereof scaling in ways that I believe made sense. The CEO had a habit of putting other staff in front of him when faced with diversity. Well, most people do, right? Dismissal and aftermath. Here we go. On May 1st, I was called to a sudden meeting with members of the board and where I was informed that my alleged position of CMO was being removed from the company, along with 4 other positions as a cost-cutting measure. Well, that's smart, but it's too late, right? By then, they already owed money. So here's the problem. They should have cut staff a long time ago. And I'll actually take these off for a second because I know don't have too much video, so we'll free the ears. free the ears. But they should have cut that cost a long time ago, back in December, back in January, back before. They should have freed those people up and let them go, and then got those resources back. So from May 15, 2025, all of my access to company email was revoked. That's normal. That's standard. And I had deported every server, Slack, and company-related software to move it on to a personal endeavor. Okay. So now in July, he was reaching out to them as he's working on his non-VTuber project. So here's some contact in July where he was legitimately not at the company. And here is some really damning responses from Mutendo. Mutendo says, "Hey, brother, I have a little bit of a request from you. I have a very large forward-facing thing I'm working on this month that is slated for late July, early August. Can you keep me up to date on anything large scale that may be happening at VShojo around the time, whether good or bad, company dissolution, new members joining, members leaving, company sale? Need to have all that ready in case I need to move things around at the time." Okay. Here's my biggest what WTF for Mutendo personally. Listen, bro. Why or how did you know to ask about this? Was it because people told you? Because that means you had an inkling of what was happening. If in that month, Mutendo is asking, he's asking people at VShojo, and he said he left every company, company group chat, everything else. That means he had information to know there was something going down, right? You don't ask a very specific question about this unless you had some sort of idea that came from somewhere. He didn't just magically say this. You don't just magically say company dissolution, like randomly, like, "Oh, hey, buddy, is your company dissolving?" So I was told to check in after Anime Expo. So why didn't he show me that? So here's the thing. Why not show the whole conversation? If Gunrun told him that, I want to see the rest of this. This is my questions for MTD. I was told check in. Well, where does it say? Show us that. Show us the Carfax on that. What's so secret there? And I was redirected to a staff member that was allegedly hired after my release. I've censored their name as they were a new hire. In typical fashion, someone was put between myself and the CEO for communication when clearly tell me what potentially was going on. This is the final time I had contact with the CEO. Okay, guys, pay attention. Some legal stuff is happening here. Hey, MTD, connecting you with somebody. We're going to call him the Doo-Doo here. We're going to call him Doo-Doo because, that's probably his name. With Doo-Doo here. He's been taken over for more VSJ leadership things and can keep you better up to speed. So obviously this Doo-Doo guy is going to be culpable here because this is called principal agent theory. So Gunrun designated Doo-Doo to do this work. So now we have clearly bulletproof 2 people that are on the hook here, and probably 3 because Sanders is on the hook. So Daniel Sanders, Justin Ignacio, Gunrun, and now Doo-Doo, whatever his real name is. And obviously his real name's going to come out. His information is going to come out. He's on the line here because he's an agent for Gunrun, who's the CEO at the head of the company. The CEO is always liable, but if you're told to do something and you do it, you're on the hook for that. So he's going to be deposed, and his identity is very important. And I know Mutendo wanted to keep that secret, but I'm telling him right now, this will not be kept secret. That name is going to get out there. We're going to find out who this person is. And regardless of them being a new hire, they are liable for what they were executing, right? If the emperor told them to do it, they're on the line, right? Darth Vader is liable for following the orders of the emperor, right? So Mutendo says, so once again, this dude guy is on the hook. Hey there. So just doing a check-in if there's going to be any upcoming negative news or the like over the next 30 or so days, so I can prepare in advance as I look to launch a new public-facing project. Why is he specifically asking? Once again, he's now asked twice. The first time, he tried to be vague and say, oh, it could be good or bad. Now he's specifically asking, is there negative news? He knew. This man knew. Now, he may have had rumors come to him. He had people tell him after, but at this point, he knew. Right? He knew. And trying to pretend any other way is a cope. Now, he may not have known while he was working there, but at this point, he knew. So he needs to kind of come out and be like, all right, yeah, the talent told me. So here's what he said. I'd say the answer is yes. One way or another, there's going to be some negative stuff publicly. I can't say what. Here is a bombshell. You can now connect the dots between Gun Run and doo-doo. So everything he is saying is as if it comes out of the mouth of Gun Run. He cannot pass the buck here. He tried to pass the buck saying he's been taking over VSJ leadership, but you can't hand over the CEO role without designating another CEO. So Gun Run is trying to be slick here, but Gun Run is not escaping the fact that they knew this was coming. And here we go. Mouse just posted a thing without any advance notice, so heads up. So trying to say that they wanted to control Mouse. This is a huge snitch, guys. This is massive. Well aware for the large amounts of DMs and texts I'm getting. Sad day. No, it's not a sad day. It's a shameful day. Because she did that because you guys lied and cheated and stole for years. Can I get some context here, as this is the first thing I'm hearing? This is why this is in my thumbnail. This statement here is damning. VShojo owes a lot of money to talents. I don't know when you were involved with the company, but it's been an ongoing known issue for a year, and the charity payment is related. You probably have more context than me, I suspect, but I'm also not sure where your relationship was with the company and when. VShojo ran out of money some time ago and has been operating with what was supposed to be talent money, hence causing the current situation. So they are admitting live in 4D the agent of Gun Run, which is as if Gun Run is speaking. This is like, if you think about Catholicism, like the Pope speaking on behalf of God or whatever, right? Not to get too religious on you, right? Whatever, like, somebody who's speaking, who is a designated agent, the speaker for another person, right? It is treated legally like this is Gun Run, because Gun Run is delegated principal agent. This is the agent. This is Gun Run saying this effectively, legally. It's the confession. This is why I called this the confession. This is the confession that they knew. I was never made aware of this being an issue from both the CEO and COO. I was aware there were financial issues, but not outstanding payment, especially for charity. Excuse me. Like I said, I don't know what your relationship is or was or what your role was. They definitely knew what they were doing. They could ask people, they could ask, they know what's going on there. That's a lie. But these issues have been ongoing for most of the past year, as far as I know, since sometime 2024. You'll just have to ask Justin. I've been here 3.5 weeks, so I'm just learning and navigating through this as best I can. Yeah, that's definitely interesting, but he's responsible, even if he's left with the bag of turd, right? So this guy, doo-doo, I feel bad for him because he essentially is a guy who's going to be roped into a whole bunch of stuff. And I bet you he was not paid enough to deal with this. I bet you he was not paid enough. And what I would do if I was doo-doo, I would turn on Gun Run right now. That's the person that people need to pinch and leverage right now. Lawyers for Iron Mouse, lawyers out there for the talent. Get this guy. He's the weak link because he knows the dirty laundry and he probably was screwed over and he was not paid enough money to deal with this. This guy was not paid enough hush money. So this guy could turn around and whistleblow on a lot of this stuff. Gun Run chose him as a fall guy. Yeah. So he needs to come forward. He needs to come out. But this is a confession, guys. And it's as if it came from the CEO. This exchange shows when I first became aware of unpaid payments. So once again, obviously, Mutendo is going to say he didn't know. And you know what? I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. He didn't know the ins and outs of the exact finances, but he may have known the overall situation. Evidence retained. I have retained supporting documentation, including but not limited to meeting transcripts and notes, corporate filings that show only the CEO and board, various contracts, a statement of information listing only the CEO and COO, with none to mention. I would like to see the contracts, and I would like to see the meeting transcripts. So if he wants to, if Mutendo, if you want to upload the transcripts and the contracts, your boy will take a look. Your boy will take the look. Okay? I'm happy to look at that. And if you really are anti-gun run, you're not going to give a damn about them threatening you with NDA or anything else. You're going to take it to the paint, drop the contracts. Let me take a look. Let's all take a look. Let's get some sunshine on this case. Let's go through this. And we may be able to work out some things together. We may be able to do this.